Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over our take on the presidential election that just happened between Trump and Biden and many different facets of both that debate as well as Trump's presidency previously and Biden's presidency currently. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video. Usually we talk about finance here, but because the elections are coming up and it does matter, especially to finance, if you guys think that, what the politicians in DC do does not have any effect on finance, you are badly mistaken. You need to go educate yourself, okay? So let's get into some of the topics here. So the first one I want to talk about is the funding of Ukraine. Well, before I start that, let me digress back to the debate. So the debate went really well, as far as I'm concerned, where Trump is concerned. Biden, he pretty much just did backbiting. He was pretty much trying to copy the exact same thing Trump did. We all know that the Democrats are notorious for doing this. They love to try to copy what other people do, but they themselves can't create anything or come up with anything original. That's just my opinion. But I do see a lot of that around me. I also actually do live in a blue state, so yes, I can actually speak to this. Just so y'all know. So there was one odd thing that stood out that I thought was kind of weird, and that was that Biden said that there was 1,000 trillionaires in the United States. I'll address that in a little bit, but that's actually false. So you can tell where his head was at. He corrected it from 1,000 trillionaires to 1,000 billionaires. So clearly, money is on Biden's mind, not the people of the United States. We watched it thoroughly, all hour and a half. What I will say is I feel like Trump was being kind of suppressed in what he was able to say. Somewhat, you could tell by the look on his face that he clearly was not being allowed to say everything that he said, especially with the gag order from the New York, attorney's district office or whatever it is. Which I think is total BS. A president of the United States should be allowed to say what they want to say, right? Because they're running the country. It's their job to run the country. Therefore, they need to be able to speak. And the right to speech is protected by the First Amendment. So we'll get into the funding of Ukraine. That's the first topic. Now, this is not going to be in any particular order. It may relate to the debate or former presidencies and events that have happened during a particular president's time in office. So funding of Ukraine. We're talking about funding of Ukraine here. You guys can look into this in your own time, but basically Congress itself, along with Biden, has approved it. It would appear somewhere between 100 to 175 billion dollars in funding for Ukraine. So the synopsis of this is, in my opinion, Congress doesn't need to be spending that money on Ukraine. Russia doesn't want the United States and NATO on their border because Ukraine is on Russia's border, and that's understandable. That is a threat to Russia's sovereignty. I can certainly understand where the country of Russia is coming from at that point. Nobody would want another country to impede upon the United States, right? But I think the $200 million that Congress is spending on Ukraine is a waste of money. It's causing needless death, needless war, and it needs to stop. So the point I want to make with this is that all of this funding for Ukraine happened since Biden's been in office, okay? So let's go on to, let's see, what was the next thing here? So I don't think I actually have anything pulled up for Gensler and his witch hunting of crypto, but as you guys know, Gensler and Elizabeth Warren have been notorious for trying to witch hunt crypto. So this is two crypto witch hunts, okay? So when Trump was in office, Trump was neutral on Bitcoin. Okay, he wasn't for it, but he wasn't against it. He said he's not a big fan of it. He's more of a proponent of the U.S. dollar. But he did just recently come out and say that he is pro Bitcoin. Now, when Trump was in office previously, and why this matters, because this is historical data, Trump stated that he was neutral on Bitcoin. He didn't much care for it, but he preferred the U.S. dollar. But the point I want to make here is that nothing bad actually happened to crypto when Trump was in office, other than Mnuchin, like I said before, trying to do the whole double cold storage wallet thing, where if you transfer crypto from one wallet to another offline or something like that in excess of $3,000, you had to report it to FinCEN. I could be a little off on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's nothing compared to what Gensler did. Okay, FTX failed during Gensler's term. BlockFi There was a number of other things. There was Coinbase was getting attacked, Binance was getting attacked, CZ went to jail. I could go on and on about this. Okay, so we all know that basically Biden and his cohorts are guilty of trying to destroy the crypto industry, and crypto companies have gone abroad as a result. So number three is the conviction of a former president. Never has that president ever in history been convicted of a felony of any kind. For those of you guys that don't know, the founding fathers of the United States of America were actually, most of them, if not all of them, were actually felons. That may come as a shock to many, but you can go back in history and look for yourself. The very people that founded this country were convicted by the British Empire, or I'd have to read more into it, but something along those lines of basically, oh God, what is it called? I forget it. I forget what the term was. It's like insurgency or something like that. But basically, they were convicted for betraying the Brits. Okay, that's pretty much what it was. So the fact that Biden tried to convict Trump says a lot about Biden as a president. Okay, it says that if he can do it to Trump, he can do it to anybody, and that the country as a whole is not safe under Biden. As far as the justice system is concerned, they may try to weaponize the justice system. Okay. So number four would be 2022 artificially inflated bear market. Now I'm going to get into this one specifically. Okay. So I'm going to make this as short as possible. So basically what happened is in January of 2021, after Biden's inauguration, he killed the Keystone pipeline deal. As you guys can see, you can look into this for yourself, but March 2021, it was posted here. And as a result of that, inflation went up. So in order for inflation to come down, the Fed has to raise rates, which could potentially lead to a recession and a bear market. So when we take a look at the timeline for the headline inflation, as you guys can see here in March of 2021, okay, that's when this post came out here. See, March of 2021, March of 2021, January of 2021 was when it was reported that Biden killed the Keystone pipeline deal. That same month, inflation rose from literally all-time lows during the end of Trump's presidency. You see inflation didn't go anywhere, right? So it was high, then it went down because of the pandemic, and then it just kind of stayed flat but low. But as soon as Biden got in office and killed the Keystone pipeline deal, inflation shot off to the moon. So the thing I would like to point out here is if we go back in history, so the Fed said that they were going to raise rates in November of 2021. Okay, as soon as we saw that, so basically Keystone Pipeline gets killed in January 2021, inflation goes up, as you guys saw previously, and in November of 2021, Biden and Powell had a secret meeting where they basically said, okay, I'm pretty sure Biden was basically telling Powell to hike rates to cool inflation. So that's when the Fed came out and said that. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? We had a bear market in March. That was when they actually started raising rates. And then boom, bear market. So the point I want to make here is that the bear market in 2022 that we had was actually not even supposed to happen. So believe it or not, that was not even supposed to be a thing. Not sure why this is showing on the weekly. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, for some reason, this is not showing up quite the same. I don't know what's going on here, but so that's number four. Number five is company woke culture. Okay. A lot of companies coming out and saying, oh, well, we support gay pride, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. If you support it, don't talk about it. Okay. Companies are about making money and business and about turning a profit. Nobody cares about your preferences. Okay. People care about whether you make money and you're profitable. That's what they care about. And a lot of these companies have slid off a cliff financially as a result of approving woke culture. Okay. Number six, gays going after people's children. You guys can look this stuff up. It's absolutely insane, the kind of things that I'm seeing. In my personal opinion, if somebody wants to be gay or whatever they want to be, okay, great. Go do that thing. Okay. Just don't do it to somebody's children. That's just absolute BS. That's lunacy. And that's, it's illegal, actually. So that covers number six. Number seven is cost of living. I can tell you guys personally, during 2021, 2022, things were very expensive. Okay, where I live, eggs per dozen was 99 cents during Trump's term. During Biden's term, it rose up to $1.40. Some of my favorite drinks, which I'm not going to say what they are, but carry them in 24 packs. During Trump's presidency was only like $8 for a 24 pack, but during Biden's presidency, it's ranged anywhere from $10 to $14. So inflation, even though it says on the charts it's cooling off, it's actually still very high. Car prices, so cost of living and car prices, home prices have shot through the roof. Nobody in America can afford a home for the most part anymore. Even people that make six figures are struggling to afford a home. Not to mention when the Fed funds rate at its all-time highs, that causes the 30-year mortgage to also go up too, which means it's more expensive to borrow to get an already exacerbated expensively priced homes at an 8% 30-year mortgage. Okay, nobody wants to pay for that. So number 9 is the U.S.-China trade wars. Let's see if I can actually find this one. It's here somewhere. So here we go. Okay, so how the semiconductor industry is dealing with a worldwide shortage. You guys can see this was February of 2022. Once again, this was under Biden's administration. So when I was paying for electronics back then, I had to pay nearly double to get the same exact thing. Okay. So if I had to pay $500 for something, typically when the semiconductors were widely available, now I was having to pay $1,000. So, in addition to expensive home prices, now you have expensive chips that, you want to get any kind of electronic, like a game system, a smart car, you want to get a cell phone, it's going to cost you a lot more money. That happened under Biden's administration too. That was as a result of the U.S.-China trade wars. So the 1,000 trillionaires, I can tell you guys right now, that's a lie. I think that was a slip of the tongue on Biden, but that just goes to speak volumes about his mental incapacity. There's only a handful of trillionaire families in the world, and most of them are very secretive. Okay, you got people like the Rothschilds, Vanderbilts. You have the royal family of England. They're worth like $30 trillion. They're worth more than the U.S. I mean, they pretty much own everything there is to own. Technically, England does actually own the U.S. The U.S. is kind of beholden to England and to the royal family. So, I mean, if there are 1,000 trillionaires, somebody out there, let me know, because, I mean, shoot, by that metric alone, I should already be a millionaire, right? We should already be millionaires. So, I'm going to go over another one here, which is, let's see if I can find it. So Biden touching the Pope. This was kind of a weird one, as you guys can see here. Well, I'm not going to play it for you guys. So let me go ahead and pause this. I don't know if it's going to let me pause. Why is it not letting me pause? Okay, well, whatever the case, you guys can look into that in your own time. So Biden met with the Pope and he kind of rubbed his head against the Pope, and that was weird, and it never should have happened. In reality, he shouldn't have even been allowed to touch the Pope. So there's two people in the world that you're not supposed to touch, okay? You're not supposed to put your hands on these people. Number one is the Queen of England, and number two is the Pope. You're not supposed to be able to physically touch these people, and for whatever reason, the Pope was okay with it, but then Biden did some weird thing where he's rubbing his head against him. So I did actually have a YouTuber comment before saying something about vaccinations. So let's see if I can actually find that. Okay, so COVID, basically vaccination mandates in 2021, as you guys can see here. In September 2021, President Joe Biden announced that the federal government would take steps to mandate COVID-19 vaccine. Basically through certain companies, like if you had to travel, you had to get a vaccine to go to another state, another country, whatever the case may be. A lot of people think that Trump was guilty of doing that. He was not. Okay, Trump basically delegated authority to the states as to how they wanted to issue out mandates for vaccines if they were going to do it at all. Okay, that's what Trump did. But Biden actually tried to force people to take the vaccine. I myself have not gotten one, but I'm just simply going to state the facts here as they are. So in terms of Trump's donations, so this is the RNC donations after Trump's conviction. The number that we have is roughly about 400 million. But as you guys can see, even here, it says that basically on the announcement of the verdict of his BS conviction, in my opinion, He raised $141 million from small time donors and big time donors. I think the big time donors actually adds it up to about 400 million. We also donated ourselves out of our own pocket to this because we think it's nonsense. And it's clear that Biden's just trying to get Trump out of the race. He doesn't care how he's got to do it, right? And everybody can see the obvious here. So, taxing the rich. Let's talk about that. See if I can basically pull up where this is at. So we got Democrats' plans to tax the rich. Basically, it says Democrats' plans to tax the rich and corporations begin to take shape. I don't want to get too heavy into this, but basically, Trump during his presidency was all about tax cuts. Okay. And Biden is all about tax hikes. So not only does he want to make it expensive for you to live, he also wants to tax you out the ear holes too, so you can't even afford. Like you're getting stolen from monetarily in more ways than one. Let's just put it like that. But there's a couple of effects I want to say here about taxing the rich. Okay, the reason why it's not good to tax the rich, number one, because a lot of corporations are run by rich people. Okay, what do corporations do? They employ people, pay them to do jobs to help make the company profitable, and those people that work those jobs technically can then afford to go live and provide for their families and stuff like that, right? So if you're taxing the rich, you make it more expensive for them to do business, which means it's harder for them to hire people, which means they, financially speaking, would be able to hire less people, which means more people would be unemployed, right? That's not good. Nobody wants that. So, the other thing I want to point out here is that taxing the rich is basically just going to make the rich want to move their money overseas. Like Jeff Bezos moved, I think it was from Washington State all the way over to Florida State because he didn't want to deal with the tax implications they had there. A lot of people that have money, they understand how the loopholes work. They could just move their money overseas to some kind of foreign account or something like that where it's tax exempt. They're not going to be too worried about it. I think, in my opinion, Biden's just completely wasting his time on this. So, illegal immigrants trying to take jobs. Let's talk about this. So it says how migrant workers have contributed to strong U.S. growth. I don't want to get too heavy into this, but basically, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why the economy is still holding up strong is because a lot of illegal immigrants that have U.S. jobs that are not supposed to have U.S. jobs have them. And as a result, we don't see the unemployment rate going up. I could get further into this in a later video, but basically, in my opinion, Trump should deport all of these people out of here that don't belong here. It doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, they don't belong here. We don't know who they are, what they've done, what kind of people they are. And the reality is, no other country in the world is going to give somebody a free pass to just go over there. Okay. So why would the United States do it? The United States is the richest country in the world. We shouldn't be doing that for anybody if those other countries are not going to do it for us, right? It's only fair. So Keystone pipeline gets cut off. Let's talk about that. So once again, you guys can see this was it was updated January of 2023, but if I'm not mistaken, so yeah, it says here in 2021, Biden basically canceled the completion of the Keystone pipeline. You guys already saw the inflation chart. I don't need to talk more about that. So there's been a lot of crimes that have been committed by illegal immigrants that have come here from outside of the country, and you guys can kind of look into this in your own time. I have seen a lot of stuff online that talks about this, and there's also some illegal substances that are being distributed throughout the country as a result of, as you guys can see, some people from some other countries bringing stuff into this country that really shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Because it's not good for the people's health and it's not safe. And I don't think I need to talk much more about that because we all know that happened under Biden's administration. So there's also states using taxpayer dollars to house illegals, basically while veterans are on the streets. That's a big problem. That basically points to the fact that Biden is anti-America, whereas Trump is pro-America. So if you're anti-America, then, I guess Biden's your guy, but I'm not anti-America. I'm pro-America because I live here. So, I'll be voting for Trump. I will never vote for Biden or Democrats as long as I live. I don't care if I live for another 10 years or another 1,000 years or whatever. I still will not vote for Democrats, okay? So we'll talk about the national wars, or basically overseas conflicts in short. So as you guys can see, basically Hamas attacked Israel in October of 2023. And let's see here and try to find the other one. So yeah, so I guess this is it. So February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't really want to get too heavy into this, but what I will say about this is when Trump was in office, there was none of this was happening. Okay, there was no invasion of Ukraine, there was no invasion of Israel, there was none of that going on. Okay, all of that stuff has happened under Biden's administration, and the possibility of nuclear destruction. Okay, World War III has also been rumored and talked about by the Democrats during Biden's administration. I don't think I need to say more about that. You guys can do that research into your own time. If I talk about it here, it's going to take forever. Gas prices, that's another one. We all know gas prices were cheaper under Trump. Everybody that's about the economy and about, having an affordable cost of living knows the gas prices are more expensive now. It doesn't matter where you live. And also gun control or violation of Second Amendment rights. So I want to talk about this one as well. So you guys can see that this was actually recent. So I don't know why this is, or maybe it wasn't recent. So whatever the case, basically everybody knows that Biden's been trying to take away people's gun controls. I mean, yes, there's some psychos out there that are doing things they're not supposed to do with guns, sure. But you can't blame the masses for that. Okay, the Second Amendment does not have any stipulations on who should be allowed to own a weapon. It says that everyone has the right to bear and keep arms. Everyone. It does not say who specifically. It does not say you have to qualify. It doesn't say none of that nonsense. The only thing I would argue about that is that illegal immigrants that come over here that don't belong here, that don't have legal status here, should not be allowed to own guns in the United States. That is my only argument because, again, they're not even supposed to be here, and the U.S. Constitution is for the U.S. It's not for anywhere else. So you guys can look into this if you want to. I was actually quite surprised that that wasn't brought up in the debate because I did watch it and did not see anything like that. So Trump, last thing is Trump came out and said he was pro Bitcoin, which is great. We want to see somebody that's pro Bitcoin. Then all of a sudden Biden and the Democrats were like, oh, we're going to be pro Bitcoin too. Yeah, okay, shut the hell up, right? So Biden was once again basically just trying to mimic what Trump was doing. We all know that Biden's anti crypto. Anybody that's been in the space for a long time knows that Biden's not for crypto. If you're a crypto investor, why you would vote for Biden is beyond me. That's all I got to say about that. But I'm voting for the guy that's pro crypto and pro business, which obviously pro US based business, which obviously is Trump. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about, I don't have this pulled up, but there was actually there was a speech that was made by Schumer where he said that he was trying to pass in Congress the ability for illegal immigrants to have the right to vote in the United States. Absolutely not. That should not happen. That will not happen. This is basically a desperate attempt, an overreach by the Democrats to ensure that they do not lose control of the government. In my opinion, they should lose control because if they have to go to these measures and try to convict Trump on top of that, they're playing dirty. They shouldn't be in office. They have no integrity. They have no soul. They were given power for a time, but now it's going to be taken away from them because they've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that they just simply don't deserve it. So anyways, this is our video on the presidential debates and the history of the presidents as of the last 8 years. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.